What's going on, world? Welcome to another episode of Bill's World. I'm Justus General. As always, I am with man, myth, the legend himself, championship coach Muki Hawkins. What's going on, coach? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Not a good Monday today, though. Not a good Monday.
Nope. The Buffalo Bills took on the 2-7 previously Dolphins and didn't come away with a victory Monday somehow. Rough game. Just rough overall. I mean, there weren't. I didn't see a ton of bright spots. There were a few, but what was the reason that they lost today or yesterday?
I don't know. For some reason, they just didn't have it, or I just think that teams just have book on this Bills team, and it's really basic, at times, and when you're in the thick of things in the conference, then your scheme shouldn't be basic. And I'm more or less talking offensively. When you have a reigning MVP, and I don't care what weapons you have, at certain point, but schematically, offensively, it's just too basic. And for a 2-7 Dolphins defense that was couldn't stop the pass, couldn't stop the run. For them to go out there, I mean, yeah, Josh did throw for 300, but that was just on a trailer coming back. It's just too basic. It seemed like they were very predictable. Obviously, they've been conservative all season long. It's nothing explosive with this offense to back defenses up. Like, I mean, everybody want to talk about the receiver spot, but even if the Bills do go get Jaden Wilder, how much is you putting the emphasis on getting him the ball? How much would our offense be designed on getting that new receiver you bring in the ball under Joe Brady's offense? I don't think that, would have helped. A guy comes in and get, one target a game. So, I mean, it's obviously that this is a tight end oriented, tight end slot oriented passing game. And NFL teams know that. And there's nothing schemed open for the receivers. This is not a receiver friendly offense. And it seems like Josh is struggling to throw the ball downfield because the offense is only really based upon 30 yards in Brady's scheme.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that Josh doesn't trust his receivers. I mean, he gives guys chances, and
I get that stuff. I do get the trust stuff, but whatever happened about 2 years ago, the open man gets the ball. You know what I mean? If I'm open, I'm open. It shouldn't have to be anything about trust at this point. Like, you were saying, they were saying now they was mimicking that stuff 2 years ago about the Stephon Diggs. I throw the ball to the open guy. There's been clearly some wide open guys, and I do get the trust component, but you have to make the right decision in that regard. And Josh, you being an 8-year veteran, that's unacceptable. But who's going to hold Josh accountable when, again, he has more experience than the play calling?
I think I saw a couple of clips on Twitter about plays where wide receivers were open or per se, and I think a lot of it is lost in context. Their guys running 2 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. I mean, sure, you could throw it to them, but they're going to converge, and it's going to be a 2-yard game. Like, I get it. If you could say this guy was open, Josh should have threw short. Like one time there was a guy on the sideline, quote unquote, wide open, even though there was a middleman between him and Josh that was waiting for Josh to make that throw. I mean, like, Josh is not stupid. I think when I say Josh doesn't trust his receivers, there were way too many times on the broadcast yesterday where the announcer or the analysts were saying there's absolutely nobody open. And when that happens, then you have to trust your receiver, because if Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't open, he's open still. If it's one-on-one coverage, he's open. When an elite wide receiver is covered, single coverage at the very least, most of the time he's still considered open. We don't have people separating. Like, literally, it looks like they had white jerseys. The wide receivers had white jerseys on yesterday. There were people attached to them every step of their route. I don't know if that's a lack of talent. I don't know if that is just a lack of production from the play caller. I kind of think it's a little bit of both, but I think that if you're the play caller, you have to make up for that lack of talent. So that's why I've been so hard on Joe Brady. 6 points going to the fourth quarter is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I mean, Josh Allen literally had to run around, what was it, like 57 yards on that one play, get it just to get a first down. He threw the interception in the red zone. Sure, you could blame Josh. I'm not trying to absolve Josh of any wrongdoing in this game, but he was running all over the field on that drive into Miami. He was gassed, and I still think there was some miscommunication between him and Dawson Knox as well. But this is a symptom of a not so quarterback friendly passing system, right? This is a system where Josh kind of has to just figure it out almost. I don't know if you've seen the clips of guys giving up on the scramble drill, like guys just walking across the field, downfield when Josh is scrambling trying to throw somebody the ball. I mean, it's just, I don't know if they just didn't want to play yesterday. I don't know if they've lost faith in the play caller. I don't know what happened, but yesterday was an abomination to watch from the offensive side of the ball. I almost feel bad. I feel bad for the defense because I don't think they played poorly. I don't think they played poorly. I think if you have a team with 16 points going into the fourth quarter, I feel like that's pretty decent. Like you have an offense with Josh Allen, they should be able to justify that.
Well, the defense got the ball back a couple of times too, so
exactly.
You wash out the turnover giveaway, and the Bills was what, -1 because they turned the ball over 3 times, and the Bills got 2 takeaways. Yeah, I mean, crucial turnovers too. I mean, you take 14 points off the board, with James Cook, on the fumble, just go down. Trying to stretch out to get more yards. Just go down, Josh. We only needed a yard. You got us 15 or whatever. Just go down. Just stuff like that. Just go down. When it's not going your way, it's really not going your way. But when you're put in that position because everything is so basic, nobody's open because the defense knows the route you're running. I don't care how much of a separationologist you are or how much of a separation technique or whatever. If the defense knows the routes you're running, it don't matter. You're not going to get separation. I don't care how fast you is, how slow you are. If the defense know, he's about to run a 12-yard post route, I'm just going to stay on top of him until he breaks. And once he breaks, I'm going to attach to him. Then Josh have to go somewhere with the football, somewhere else. And by that time, it's in a deep scramble. And this team is not prepared for that. It's like last year, the biggest question mark going into last season was how would Josh respond to losing his number 1 and number 2 receiver. I have not seen a quarterback lose his top 2 targets, in 1 year. I never saw that. And so for Josh to do what he did last year gave him the MVP trophy. Now, those same pieces that he got chemistry and built trust with, a la Mac Hollins, you don't even offer him a contract or you don't re-sign him. He goes to New England underneath pretty much the same deal you signed him here for. And, now that rears its ugly head because now Josh is out there in the scramble jail and his brand new faces out there that, he don't have chemistry with. He's not in rhythm with. They don't know his tendencies or anything like that. And it's just, that explains why the rhythm is up and down. That explains why the offense is hot and cold. And that explains why the Bills have 3 losses, more or less. I do say the injuries, but offensively, they could have played better in those 3 games they lost. In those 3 games they lost, they were very, very conservative and predictable, not taking shots down the field. You got a big arm talent in Josh Allen. you're not taking shots down the field. I don't want to hear that they don't have the pieces. You got Curtis Samuel that should be blowing the top off of defenses, and Elijah Moore. You know, they're not the personnel in certain type of packages is not on the field at the right times, and teams is like you doing a defense a favor by doing that. You know, play calling in wrong situations, like on 4th and 1, they call timeout, but you still show on the play, and then you come right back out and run that same play. It looked like the same play, you know, for the most part. It still didn't work off of a timeout.
All they did was emotion. It was
like you should have. When is the time to use the fullback there? You know, in play action, like Reggie Gillum can catch. You know, when are you going to use the fullback in the passing game for at least for 1 yard? You know, if you're not going to run the ball, like it was a couple of instances yesterday where the Bills only needed 1 yard, couldn't get the yard, and you know now you give Miami momentum. You know, they took advantage of some. You know, welcome to the NFL, Mad Max, right? They took advantage of that. But the Bills defense were still able to, you know, get stops and keep it a 16-zip bar game for 3 quarters. Offense just couldn't get nothing going. Just too predictable. It's just very, very predictable in the offense, especially when you're playing a divisional opponent in Miami. So, I mean, I just didn't understand what was the game plan offensively. You've been killing them the past couple of weeks in counter. Now it's time to get off that play. Miami knows that play. They're going to stack the box. They're going to send an extra guy and shoot the gap and disrupt that play. Now it's time to do play action off that play, either go deep or hit the fullback for a big chuck gain or something. You're just not being creative enough in your play calling, and it's film study for other teams.
Yeah. Joe Brady got his bluff call yesterday. They were like, okay, you got the top 3 back in the league. Cool. We're not gonna let him beat us. Do it with somebody else. He got his bluff called. He said we can pass when we need to. They was like, show us. He couldn't do it. He couldn't get it done. He couldn't produce with the receiving core that you and I both believe should be enough. But it isn't. And if you want to put yesterday's loss on Josh Allen, all right, that's fine. But yesterday was a microcosm of why we won't win the Super Bowl this year. Because all the same issues that we came into the season with, that we went into the trade deadline with, where you didn't make any moves, reared its ugly head yesterday. Every last issue that has plagued us over the last 4 or 5 months reared its ugly head yesterday. So James Cook can't get off the way that he usually does, right? He's not breaking everything the way he can't get off the way he usually does yesterday. So they made him throw the ball. People are gassed. It's Miami. I mean, warmer than it usually is in November, but nonetheless, it's Miami. Now Josh has to do the scramble drill every play. He's got to go make Lamar Jackson plays just to produce offense at a certain point. And then once Don Kincaid got injured, it's over.
Crazy. It's crazy to say if Don Kincaid gets hurt, the game is over.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good. And it all goes to play design. This offense, that's not Brady's thing. His style is not a vertical offense. I'm sitting here watching 2-minute drill situations with him, and I don't see it.
They're running 4-yard concepts in a 2-minute drill.
A 2-minute drill.
I don't understand. Madden players could call offenses better than this. I don't understand. And Brandon Beane talking about Madden GMs, you know that your offensive coordinator is not good enough with the roster that you presented to him. Either fire him or make it impossible for him to fail. You did neither.
Well, he got the pieces, and that's my
whole. You don't have the play caller to make the pieces fit.
All right, and that's when I say the scheme and the money don't mesh, because obviously, the scheme and the money don't mesh. What I mean by the money is that you're paying these guys
Paying a
top
Titan
dollar.
two, Titan one money.
You're paying these guys top dollar. Like, and I'm so, like, Keon is getting so much flack for no reason. Like, we're not, I mean, like, Josh Palmer was brought in to be the separator, to be just the speed burner up top too, because he has the speed, he has the size, and he can run all the routes. You're not talking about that. They blaming everything on Keon. And that's not fair for him, because his makeup is what his makeup is. Everybody understood he ran a 4.6 40. Everybody knew that he was gonna struggle with getting separation in the league. Everybody knew that. So obviously there had to have been some sort of plan for him, right? So obviously that plan is not working because you're not playing Keon Coleman to his strong suits. But Palmer wasn't getting the ball until the Atlanta game. Then he gets hurt. It's quite evident. Look, he goes down in a quarter and a half, and still was the team leading receiver in yards. You know what I mean? So it's not this offense is not designed to go down the field. It's even I can take you all the way back to the AFC Championship game where it all started, where Spags was daring them to go deep. The Bills were down, and they had to go down the field, and Josh threw Mac Hollins against Trent McDuffie 1-on-1. Their best guy versus our best guy, and our best guy won. They never went back to that play. And that's what teams are doing. They're daring the Bills to throw the ball downfield. Josh is going to have to trust his receivers more, and he's going to have to place the ball properly, because it seems like down the field he's having some location issues. It's not the ball placement and the location with Kim and Keon Coleman is off. But that's why Keon Coleman is getting the flag. But just with a guy like that, just throw it up. No back shoulder or anything like that. Let him be acrobatic up in the air. You saw that, it was kind of back shoulder on his touchdown catch, but he still really don't have too much space to work with. And I think, he still has to develop that. He really he has to develop that as a wide receiver. I think they're not really using him to his strong suits. I don't think really everybody's getting used to the strong suit. This is a tight end slot oriented passing game. You still see them. They got all the good plays designed for them. Like, you don't see the wide receivers getting plays designed how Khalil Shakur and Kincaid has plays designed for them. You know what I mean? Like, everything else is up top for somebody else, but you're not running. It's just they have better play design. There's no design for the receivers other than probably a 9 route or post. You know what I mean? A deep route. That's it. Like, is they're losing analytically, and that's the crazy part about it too. And they're not switching the style up with a guy like Josh Allen. You're not being creative enough with the arm talent. Miami was rolling Tua out to the left, throwing back right, wide open. Like, why we don't do that with Josh Allen? We're not explosive. There's no big plays. It's okay if the guy make a man miss after run after catch, then yeah, that's a big play. Or if James Cook so happens to make it to the second level and beat his man, that's the big play. But it's no explosive plays. It's no home run hitting shots. It's not even taking chances up the field, even early in the game. Like, all right, let's take a stab down the field here on 2nd and 5 or something like that, just to wake the back end up and see what we got matchup wise on the back end early with Josh Allen. You have Josh Allen. Josh Allen's not even running the football. It's not even no design runs for Josh Allen anymore. So like, you're really doing a defensive favor with this conservative, predictable offense at times, and still James Cook isn't on the field at certain situations. It's just a lot of I mean, this team is completely out of rhythm, and it's not a good look for this organization right now. It's just to lose to a Miami Dolphins team that has been struggling to produce any type of offense, to stay in ball games, and for this team to make it look very, very easy yesterday. that's a real problem, especially with this Bills schedule looking like how it's looking the next 3 to 4 games.
Keon Coleman, Elijah Moore, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel. You put any of these dudes, even Tyrell Shavers, you put any of these dudes in the Detroit Lions offense, and I bet you they smoke. They go crazy. I don't think any of them individually are bad receivers. I think that, again, like you mentioned earlier, I don't think they're being put in the best position to win, right? I think the criticism for Keon comes is because we saw what Diggs did. We saw Diggs just beat his man, period, point blank, period. That's what he just beat his man. It didn't matter if it was short yardage, medium yardage, deep for the most part, he beat his man. And so when you lose that, and then you draft a guy virtually in the first round, and this is the guy who they wanted. This is what was told to us. This was the wide receiver who they wanted. Everybody else was just whatever. They knew they could get him in the second round, trade it back. They got their guy. Okay. We're waiting to see why he was your guy specifically, right? Like you, Brandon Bean, you had a game plan for this young man, I'm assuming, correct? What was it? Because we haven't seen it yet. Whatever your vision was for Keon Coleman has yet to come to fruition. So now we're sitting here thinking like, you was going to draft a bunch of slot receivers. Why not draft Ladd McConkey? If you're going to, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like the roster building doesn't match. I think you said that earlier in the show too. The roster building doesn't match the schematics. It doesn't match what they want to do on the football field.
Right.
And I don't know if that's an indictment on Joe Brady or an indictment on Brandon Bean, but it doesn't add up. It doesn't match.
My thing is this. When is Joe Brady going to evolve? That's the issue that I'm having right now. Like, okay, when does the play caller evolve? He's only in his third year as calling plays, and right now that is showing, nobody is taking a deep look into that. Like, it's showing he's not evolving as a play caller, like, because he should be on point. This offense should be getting on all cylinders. All the players everybody should be eating. Right now is teams know that you're just throwing the ball to Kincaid and Khalil Shakir. You're not throwing the ball, down the field. We know the routes that they're running on the back end, and everything else is predictable for Kincaid and Shakir. And that's and teams know that. Like, teams know that, and it's his job to get everybody else involved, especially if we going with everybody's eating, because only two people that's eating right now are Shakir and Kincaid. And now you have Kincaid hurt because I don't know if you're feeding him too much. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when did the play caller evolve? We seen Ben Johnson evolve when he was getting cited as one of the top coordinators in the game. You've seen his play calling evolve, to the point where now he's a head coach. I'm not seeing Joe Brady's play calling evolve.
You know what I'm interested to see, Coach? I'm interested to see what his third and fourth down conversion rate on less than 1 or less than 2 yards is when he doesn't quarterback sneak. Because I bet you it's extremely low. I'm talking like teens, if not zero. I cannot think from memory of a play that wasn't a quarterback sneak on a third, 4th and 1, or a conversion or a 2-point conversion where they just converted and it wasn't a quarterback sneak. There might have been a few times where they handed it off to James Cook and got it, but I can't think from memory of it. And it goes back to your question: when does he evolve? And why are we going through the motions with a inexperienced offensive play caller with the best quarterback to maybe have ever touched a football?
I don't know. I mean, this was like, I said it at halftime. This is kind of like a deja vu moment I don't know how old you are, but like I do recall where the Bills with Jim Kelly and them went down to Miami, and they had to come back, and Jim Kelly had the game-winning touchdown where he ran and dove in the end zone. It rained, everything. The Bills were playing bad football. They got things going in the second half. Jim Kelly got them going, with the K gun, and they was able to win the game. But that didn't happen because the play caller, those are the moments where you want the play caller to evolve. We're down. How does our play caller get us in rhythm? How do our play caller get us some points on the board? How does he evolve as a play caller in those situations and help his star quarterback with the play calling? You know what I mean? So, like, this is what I'm saying. I don't see, the play calling evolving, and it's hurting the team. It's hurting the team where it's hurting the defense, because we know the defense has its struggles, but the defense, go out there and get stops for you, necessary stops in meaningful moments, and the offense just comes right out, be ultra conservative and predictable, and get right off the field again. Or they finally get something going, and then turnover happens. Like even on that play when Josh messed up with Knox, you basically in the trips to the left there, you got the slot doing the out, basically like an arrow, and I don't know if it was a stick concept with Knox, but Knox should have just ran a straight in-cut route. The middle of the field was wide open. If you run an in-cut, that's gonna, you got Knox clearly one-on-one inside wide open, and by the slot doing the arrow, you opened up Shavers from the backyard for the backside, back of the end zone shot, where he wouldn't even been in that play to even make that interception. But you got so much clutter over there, he was able to make a play. And I do believe Josh was trying to hit Shavers, but he couldn't get the ball over the guy, to make that play. And so just make Dawson Knox run inside to clear it out. You already got the window right there with Shavers. So again, play design goes into it as well. You know what I mean? When you go back to that play, and it's on, I know Stevie Johnson.
You're absolutely right. I remember the play. Yeah,
he's clipping that play.
Wide open behind the line. Yep.
Yeah, if Dawson Knox just run across the middle, he's wide open. Now Josh got a second window with Shavers wide there. He can easily see him instead of trying to force the ball over him, where that guy was able to make a play.
He's already tired because he's been running all drive.
Yeah, it just the play design goes along with that too. So how does the play caller help his quarterback, get in rhythm when the offense is struggling? You got to put the players on the field. Like, I have not seen no creativity. You got Curtis Samuel. Why not put Curtis Samuel and James Cook in the backfield with Josh Allen in the shotgun, and run a true RPO with sending him in motion, and either I could give it to James Cook going the opposite way, or we got concept going on the other side. So it's just no creativity with the offense with the weapons they have. There's no explosive plays. You conservative and predictable, and a team like Miami can beat you by scoring early in the game, just maintaining the lead because you don't adjust offensively to the defense.
Yeah. I mean, this is what
I can't say that about it. With all the injuries and everything that's happening on the defensive side, they have been making proper adjustments, the past 2-3 weeks. The Michael Hoyk effect definitely shown yesterday. It wasn't no energy. I didn't understand why Daquan Jones was playing more than Deion Walker. I didn't understand that. It's how does Deion Walker been playing? Got Daquan Jones out there, and I think that Daquan Jones should have been at least on the pitch count as well as Deion Walker was playing. Sometimes you gotta let dog be a dog and be like, hey, DQ, we're gonna let the young guy, he's hot. We're gonna keep rolling with the big fella, then we bring you in, keep you fresh.
Look, as a big boy myself, all I know is I'm gonna say Deion Walker is a big boy. I bet you that boy was tired. I'll bet him money. That's why he ain't played too much because conditioning. That's why
he's been playing all season though, so I don't understand.
Miami was hot though. That was
I get that, but he's still gonna have to fall out or something. Let me know you tired, But in certain moments he should have been like he came in, he got into a face right. I don't know if he got black batted the ball down or we almost got a pick. They took you right out after that. They took him right out. I'm like, why y'all taking him out? If he just just made a play on defense, why is y'all taking him out? Why do he have to come out now? So I know it's just the personnel groupings in certain situations just wasn't good, especially the onside kick. We trying to get in the game. You put the running back out there to kick the onside kick to get we need a guaranteed perfect kick. We need the best onside play right here. We put Ray Davis to kick the ball out there. We put Ray Davis.
Yeah, I didn't get that one. We got a question, a very interesting question. I think this is layered though. He says Devon Achane rushed for 174 yards against the defense. Why don't we talk about that? Now, before we do talk about it, I want to just shout out 3 people. Max Harrison, another interception. Shout out to him. He had a rough half against Jalen Waddle, but it's Jalen Waddle. Basically a superstar wide receiver. If he was a receiver 1, he'd be a superstar wide receiver. Cole Bishop continuing to play well, which is very encouraging. And then you mentioned earlier Deion Walker. I don't think the 174 yards is as damning as it looks. I think a lot of that came in the fourth quarter when the game was virtually over. Defense was gassed. Then they just let 2 huge runs go by. I bet you those runs were probably close to half of that.
No.
That's what I'm contributing to.
I get all that what you're saying, but no. Only thing that does is expose why the Bills is dead last against the run. When is the linebackers going to make plays?
Oh yeah.
Let's hold linebackers accountable now, because
I'm with you there.
Somebody's running for that type of yardage. Where are the linebackers? I didn't hear their name being called at all yesterday. I didn't hear Milano's name being called at all yesterday. I didn't hear Terrell Bernard's name being called at all yesterday. You have to make plays on defense. We don't have playmakers on defense. Matt Max got an interception yesterday. He battled. He battled. He got a pick after getting scored on. So what's everybody else's excuse? They're not making enough plays on defense. Now, mind you, they are getting them off the field, and that goes back to the offense. When the defense is doing, trying to do their best under the circumstances, and they do at times, and then the offense don't take advantage of the defense going out there to get the stops. How much longer do you want them to do it? Then that's when you do see, those breakaway runs towards the end of the game. But that's gonna say, well, hell, to a Tampa Bay Buck team that struggle against the run, that'll give them confidence to say, hey, Rashid White, you're gonna have a 100-yard game against these guys. They can't stop the run, and they're gonna mimic exactly what Tampa Bay did. And guess what? Bills are gonna have a problem stopping the run. And then what? Well, when Tampa Bay struggles to run the ball, and all of a sudden they're having big chunk runs based upon schematically you can't stop the run, or your linebackers is not making plays, or your defensive line is not having the proper gap integrity and getting vertical up the field. Yeah, then it's going to put strain on an offense that's struggling, that's inconsistent. The offense is inconsistent. And it's a lot of problems going into week 9, week 10. That's a major issue, and that needs to be fixed right away, because the division is pretty much almost a wrap at this point. If you don't get that together, but right now the Bills is playing for their playoff lives right now. They can't afford to lose no more right now. And this is the time where they're normally, hitting their stride, going on a winning streak. But right now, it's just proved that, they're inconsistent. I don't want to hear that they playing down to the level of competition because they beat Kansas City. And, it is the NFL, and it's a week-to-week weed and all that cliche stuff. But it should be a more point of an emphasis to be consistent at what you do creatively. And that wasn't the case offensively with this Bills team. Everybody knows defensively this team's makeup, but there's no creativity offensively. What you see is what you get, and that's not good enough right now. And not this season. Last season, yeah. This season, that's just not good enough. And, that's definitely hurting this Bills team.
So I agree with you. Linebackers haven't been playing well all season, honestly. And as I was looking at, because I used to think our, stopping the run woes was like defensive line problems. I don't know. I just think our linebackers aren't great at stopping the run.
They
But
playing hurt.
what I was gonna say,
Playing hurt. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's the thing. They playing
so
hurt. When you playing hurt, you behind on everything. You're a step second slower than this guy who's been playing all season long. You know what I mean? So everything that guy's in the flow of the season to where I've been battling injuries and I'm struggling to get that rust off, and then it's damaging at the wrong time, and you're not in shape, and the conditioning plays a factor, and you still a bit nicked up. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
yeah, no, they haven't been playing well. But I do, like I was saying, I think that it was Miami, and the Bills clearly weren't prepared for the heat. Everybody looked gassed, and in everyone looking gassed, I think that the offense constantly coming off the field early, defense having to be on the field, having to stop the run, having to stop the pass, having all this other stuff. Devon Achane had 94 yards on those two fourth quarter touchdown runs. That's more than half of his yardage. So I'm not going to completely absolve the Bills defense of letting those loose, but I do attribute a lot of that to the offense and just the lack of complementary football that was implemented. It's not acceptable to just let up 94 yards and 2 runs at all, but it's also not acceptable to score 6 points going into the fourth quarter. Well, we got some stuff in the comments. Somebody is upset. So real quick, Mook, before we get out of here, I got a question. Brandon Beane was reportedly in on Jalen Waddle, offered a 2027 first round pick. Dolphins said we want 2026 first round pick. Brandon Beane, it was a little too rich for Brandon Beane's blood. He declined, and now we have the roster that we'll have for the rest of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I would have gave up the first round pick for this year. I mean, if you're trying to win now, you got to show the fan base that you're trying to win now at all costs, right? And you're trying to give Josh Allen every chance to succeed. My guy Thomas DeLawcy, he said it best in the space earlier today in that regard. And you got to give up that first pick. You're trying to win now. You're not trying to win in 2027. You're trying to win now. Like, you just seen the Jets. Indianapolis Colts give up their first round pick because they're trying to win now. They have a hot team and they're trying to win now. They ain't got time to stack for the future. And right now, it seems like the Bills has been stacking for the future for the past 5 to 6 years. When is that really going to start paying dividends in that regard, right? So I would have gave up that pick, but still, if you get Jalen Waddle, how much do you make a point on emphasis? Now you got to put the offense got to go around him, and now will you able? Now is Brady able to do that? When you got a guy that can get up the field and get separation.
See, I disagree. I don't think the offense has to go through him. I think the offense still goes through James Cook the way it has all season, or the last 2 seasons. And then you also have a guy who undoubtedly can not only take the top off of defense, but will beat his man. And you have Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel and Josh Palmer to complement him. But the offense doesn't necessarily have to go through him. It just creates another dynamic, another ability for this offense to be able to utilize.
Well, again, that's when the scheme and the money comes in, because Waddle's under contract, right? He just signed the deal, right? So how much money he's making that the Bills are going to have to eat that contract on top of Palmer's contract, on top of Knox contract, on top of Samuel's contract. Kincaid is in his contract year. So he's not going to have no problem getting his money. You got to.
Well, all that comes at the behest of now we don't win a Super Bowl.
Because you contractually, you kind of like in the buying contractually now. You paying everybody in offense
You
is getting the bag right.
you put yourself in a bind contractually with Diggs, a justified one that didn't work out. I'll give you that one.
No, Diggs
With
is
with
zero.
Von Miller, that
Diggs is
one was mind blowing. Why would you give him that contract? That was insane,
Diggs,
irresponsible even.
we those guys are gone. We talking right now.
But they're
Like
still impacting the salary cap.
it comes off the Bucks this year. But okay, all right, fine. But still, Palmer is getting 12 and a half, 13. Khalil Shakur 13, 14. Knox is getting 11, 12, a year. Samuel is getting 8. James Cook's getting 11 and a half, 12.
That's insane roster building. I'm sorry.
And Kincaid is going to want 15 million.
Unless you were expecting Keon Coleman to be that guy, or are you expecting Josh Palmer to come in and be that guy potentially, that makes zero sense roster building wise.
I mean, me personally, I just would have re-signed Matt Collins for 2 years.
He was your most reliable receiver last year.
Signed you for a 2-year deal. I thought that was like a no-brainer re-sign. Like the chemistry he had with Josh, you know what I mean? Like all that time they put in together for y'all to just let that go. That's why the Bills offense is where it's at right now, because it takes a while for a guy to get trust. And I just didn't understand how you let Matt Collins go when he developed to be, I guess, receiver number 1. He was Josh's go-to guy.
He was the most reliable receiver by the end of last year.
Guy. He was the most physical receiver you had as well, too. Like, he gave the offense juice, and he was a dog, and he was a veteran, and you let that go, and you gave Palmer more money than, I mean, I don't even think they even offered Matt Collins a contract. Just let him go. I mean, because he signed for the same money in New England. He signed, 2-year, $8 million deal? $8 million deal to go to New England. You could have signed him for 2 years for $8 million. I would have gave him 2 years, $10 million. And now you got all that extra money to go and get another guy to help your back end safeties, or hell, or just go draft you a number 1. I thought that they would have Matt Collins, Keon Coleman, go draft you a number 1. You pair that with Khalil Shakur, and now you got a great offense. You got Kincaid and Knox. You good. You went out and spent on Josh Palmer, and that's not providing you dividends. Why is that? Keon is getting more flight than Josh Palmer. Why is that? And Josh Palmer is a separator. So if Josh Palmer ain't getting no separation, what's the problem? It's the play design. Teams know what they're going to run. They're going to know what they're run based on film study and analytics. And again, play calling hasn't evolved to help that offense in those situations.
Well, something's got to give at some point. Another division loss, so that you're just that much further behind in the standings now. Patriots beat a good Bucs team, so now they're for real. And all this is off the back of you playing your worst game of the season and letting them win, letting them build confidence. Now they on one.
Well, it's because of the offense. You're getting exposed offensively. When the Bills lose, the offense look horrible. It don't look bad. It's not like, okay, it's a dogfight or whatever. We're going back and forth. It looks bad. It looks bad, and the defense give it all they got. You know what I mean? It just looks bad offensively. And for you to have Josh Allen and an arm talent as special as he is, he's not being used right. And I don't know, what adjustments they need to make to make a switch to get a rhythm for Josh to develop trust and all that. It's week 8, 10? Like, Kincaid is hurt right now too. Right? He's hurt right now. So what the offense is going to look like this week versus Tampa Bay, I don't know. Are we going to do Dawson Knox get the bulk of the target share because Kincaid don't look like he's going to play?
Get ready for some screens, ladies and gentlemen.
screens with the tight end. We're doing screens with the tight end, and we still
Shakir
doing
and Knox.
we doing jet sweep still with Elijah Moore instead of faking that sweep and run counter with James Cook. I just, again, the creativity is too basic. Teams know what you're doing based on the personnel and the situations that you're in. 9 times out of 10, they are right. And that is a big problem. That's a big problem offensively when defenses know when you're doing in crucial moments of the game. Josh Allen is getting sacked. Josh Allen is, is turning the ball over. They're getting off the field. It's nothing easy on third down that he's dialing up. Now Brady's dialing up. It's easy. We can't get a yard on 3rd and 1 twice, 4th and 2. Like, you don't have those play calls because you don't have the right personnel and for those type of play calls. And you're predictable. And you're not aggressive offensively with Josh Allen. That's crazy to say. Not explosive with Josh Allen. That's crazy to say. Because you don't have those type of weapons. Bean did an excellent job of putting a veteran guy to help develop your quarterback. And then when they take the training wheels off, they don't stick with that philosophy anymore. They don't get a younger. Khalil Shakur is Beasley. You didn't go get your number 1 receiver that Josh can grow with and build chemistry with under a rookie contract. He deserves that. Every top quarterback out here has a young star wide receiver. Bills don't have that. Keon Coleman, he's a red zone threat. He's an athletic guy. But as far as a number 1 receiver that can run the routes and get separation and all that stuff, they don't have that. And, they don't have a compliment to Keon Coleman. Let me just say that. And the number 1 receiver, a true number 1 receiver. Our number 1 receiver is a tight end in the slot, And it's not to say that Khalil Shakur can't play on the outside. They just don't put him there, because it's too predictable. It's too conservative. And what you see is what you get. So I want to see how is this offense is going to, I want to see some different packages. Like, I just want to see some different packages. You're using sub packages at the wrong time. Like James Cook needs to be, out there. Can we run a screen to the running back? Like, you see other teams in the NFL run it all the time. Can we run a screen to the running back? Let Josh Allen just drift back and just dump it. But you know what? Teams are not fooled because they know Josh doesn't throw the ball downfield. So how can Josh look like he's going downfield and then dump it to the back on the screen? Because they know that they're not throwing the ball deep. And it's crazy. It's predictable. It's conservative. It's non-aggressive. It's just not aggressive.
They don't have the right personnel for those play calls. You real slick, Mo. You real slick. You be saying stuff, but you say it in a real nice way.
They have the personnel. It's just not on the field. It's not on the field.
That is.
They have the personnel. It's just not on the field.
So you don't put the right personnel on the field, and you don't make the right play calls for the personnel you do have on the field. That's interesting.
You got to evolve as a play caller. We have yet to see Brady evolve as a play caller. Hey, he done some stuff up, but now when the team is relying on you to get them back in the ball game, what plays are you calling to do that? What plays are you calling to get them in a rhythm? And then again, the turnovers do not help. You know what I'm saying? The turnovers do not help. When, they did get some rhythm, boom, turnover. Not once, but twice. It rains, it pours, but it still shouldn't be that way. But the Bills always get nonchalant at the wrong time. You know what I mean? And you can't. You're going to get every team's best just because of you got an MVP quarterback and everybody's saying you're a Super Bowl contending team. You're going to get everybody's best. The Bills is not matching that intensity on a week to week, on being that guy. And they don't know how to respond when teams punch them in the mouth. And that's crazy to say. Yeah. How are you not responding when the Dolphins punch you in the mouth and out there flexing like they're the playoff team, like they're the Super Bowl contending team? And that's just wasn't a good look yesterday for Bills fans, and overall, just wasn't a good look yesterday offensively. You can say what you want to say about the defense, but offense is no excuse on offense looking that way.
And by the way, Coach, the Dolphins punching you in the mouth resulted in a 16-6 fourth quarter to go being 16-6 going into the fourth quarter. That's what Dolphins and punching you in the mouth look like, and they still couldn't overcome it. So I don't know, man. Bills taking L, rough one too. I mean, wow, that one feels worse than even the Atlanta one did. Honestly, that one feels worse.
To a 17. You just don't. I mean, you just don't lose to a 2-7 team. It's a copycat league. What can I take from the Baltimore Ravens game that was effective that we could use? I didn't see that either. They just stick it to what they do, and that's predictable. And you got the Dolphins up here, like they won a Super Bowl. They running around in garbage totes and laundry bins and breakdancing in the locker room. That's just that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't go and take care of business. You're being nonchalant, thinking teams are going to lay down to you, and you get punched in the mouth sometimes. But you have to respond. I just didn't think offensively the Bills didn't respond.
Yeah, they didn't respond at all. But we'll see what happens this weekend in Tampa. Yeah, man, it'll be an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see if this offense wakes up, if they have a new play caller. It'll be interesting to see what happens and who's being held accountable for it. But that'll do it for us. For Mook, Justus General. Actually, big shout out to Mook. Congratulations on winning Board of Education, election. So big shout out to you for that as well. Yeah, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for every like, comment, subscription, retweet, repost. You guys know we appreciate everything you guys do for us. So that'll be it for us, and we are out. Go Bills.
At least we got one win this week, right?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the support.